What up? What up? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another episode of the Freshman 15 College Football Podcast with me, LP Cruz, talking college football with Tyler Moore for about 15 minutes. So, big week to talk about. We have a lot of games and the game happening, plus upset picks and so much more happening with the CFP. So, let's hop right to it right before Thanksgiving before we get that grub on. Tyler, my man, what is up?
Not too much, man. Like you said, this is rivalry week. We've played it low the past couple of weeks, but this is the big one, and we have the big one. And I'm pretty sure everyone knows what this episode is going to be about.
Of course. So, not to delay too much, Tyler. So, before we get to our main course, let's hit the appetizer from last week. You had your upset pick / Saturday spotlight. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I had Miami over Louisville. It was actually a really close game. It was back and forth all game. We talked about Tyler Van Dyke not making any mistakes, and he did not make any mistakes. Plummer, he made his interception early in the game. They did recover from it. It's 31-31 going late into the fourth quarter, and Miami has a chance to go up on a 4th and goal, and he overthrows his receiver. They get the ball back, which at this point it's 38-31. Miami's down. Right? Yeah. Miami's down against Louisville, and like I said, Van Dyke he misses that throw. He gets the ball back, and he goes for the Hail Mary. The Hail Mary's tipped 2 yards inside the end zone. The receiver catches it, and he gets tackled on the 5-yard line. There was no help behind him. He was gang tackled by like 7 dudes. But it's one of those things where you give Louisville, you give them that extra possession when your offense stalled out a little bit, and the better team, they did prevail. But it was a lot closer than I think a lot of people thought it was going to be. And I was pulling for that upset pick because, during that game, we also saw the unfortunate events that happened for Florida State, but we'll hit on that later.
Yeah, man. So on the opposite side of that, because I know for this game last week with Louisville and Miami, you talked about it being really close. The spread was close. Mm-hmm. Everything about that game was screamed an upset, which, you caught them, of course, at Miami. Couldn't quite pull it off. My game that I was really concerned about was last week was going to be Oregon and Washington. And for that one, first off, hats and props off to Oregon State. They play a very close competitive game. Mm-hmm. I know somebody uses this game as ammo against Washington, but I can't do that entirely. So I had to give credit to Washington for holding off a tough team in a tough environment in Corvallis with just terrible weather, man. You had the wind, the rain, everything working against them. It was blustery, to say the least. And that said, though, man, I do say that I'm a bit concerned with how they fared against the run. And Damian Martinez, who I talked about before the game, did very well against him. He ran the ball well. He was physical. Not a home run threat, but he got a lot of plays off in the screen game. And that's kind of what I'm a little bit concerned about. And then for Penix, he made some throws, but you look back at that game and the absolute stars of the game for Washington had to be the receiver, Roma Dunze, really playing well. I think is a first-round pick lock now. And then you have the corner, Jabbar Muhammad, 2 picks, passes defense. He's turning it up as of late, really stepping his game up and played big. But again, respect to Washington winning that game, a tough game. And also they supplant Florida State, which we'll talk about a little bit more in the CFP.
Yeah, and the big thing is we talk about all 3 phases. It turns out that miss snap on that punt ended up being that 2-point difference in that game. So it's crazy. Like people don't think about much about the climate of games, and like the one of the most important positions in football is the long snapper. And you get into those conditions, and it like it said, it costed Oregon State the game.
It's just 2 points, man. And I think for that one, I would say it is kind of concerning the way they didn't score much in the second half, being blanked. Mm-hmm. But you want them to recover, and I think they're going to recover. But they have a lot on their plate, and they will for the rest of the season, to be honest with you. So let's kind of change gears to our best topic of the week. I think for last week was who either hurt or helped themselves the most in college football. Tyler, you got it.
Yeah, it's really like the limiting snippets on unfortunate events. It's going to be Jordan Travis and Florida State Seminoles, because I don't know if they're going to, they end up beating North Alabama, or was it South, one of the Alabamas, but it's just it's just the fact that they're a Heisman candidate, one of the top guys in the country, gets hurt. His backup comes in, but now they're going to have to go in and play. They're going to play Louisville in the ACC championship, and you don't know how bad that's going to hurt them. And that might be enough for like that star player to be out, even if they do go undefeated, just to say, hey, they don't have their guy, so we might keep you guys out of the college football playoffs. And like that's a that sucks under those circumstances. But like you said, we've talked about it all the time. Like money is money to these guys, and not
Exactly.
having one of those star players, premier players in the country in one of those games, or potentially like the the CFP championship. That's what really hurts Florida State, is that unfortunate injury to Jordan Travis.
So I mean that's a big one, and I hate to put that in my category because what can you do, right? Because this category is normally meant for teams that they really put themselves in a bind like that. They literally hurt themselves in the sense of bad coaching, bad choices, bad decision making. But it's a cataclysmic loss for Florida State to lose their quarterback. You said is a Heisman candidate, man, and he's kind of made me a believer over the last 2 months of the season based on how he's come along, how well he's done in the program at large has also performed. But for me, my pick this week of who hurt themselves the most, I had to think about it for a while, and nobody took any major L's last week that I can think of. Right. And so what I had to do was look back at the polls. Now I went back at the top 10, and first, you mentioned Louisville by winning the game against Miami. They give themselves an outside chance for chaos by not losing to Miami, so good for them. They get Florida State without Jordan Travis, but still a big challenge in that sense. And then the other teams that are kind of up the list a little bit, Texas, Oregon, and Alabama hold serve by beating lesser competition. But then I had to think about Washington too, with the rocky game against Oregon State. But if I want to talk about Washington, I have to talk about, in the same vein, Michigan at Maryland. Okay, we talked about that could be close. And it was, but here's the thing. Michigan led by 20 on the road. And so McCarthy throws a pick right before half. Then Maryland gets within one score entering the fourth quarter. And I don't know if it's like a hardball thing not being there or whatever the case is, turmoil, whatever it is. But McCarthy has not been good without hardball. And so now, again, you have to ride Blake Corum for a win. So you don't exactly hurt yourself, but it's like we normally describe it. But still, it's like it's not good heading into this weekend, which is a big weekend with how you're playing right now. So with that said, Tyler, I will hand it off to you for our Saturday Spotlight.
Yeah, so right before I get to that, like the big L that's not showing up in any box scores, and it's really stayed down low, is all the decommits from Colorado not having a winning season. I think they've lost like four or five recruit commits now, but we'll get to that some point later. But like you said, the big one this weekend, it's gonna be my upset special and my my Saturday Spotlight. I think it's everybody's Saturday Spotlight. It's the noon game. It's Ohio State, Michigan. Michigan's favored by 3 because they're playing in Ann Arbor. It's basically a push game. And like what we're looking for here is we have a team that is very good at running the ball. They've dominated all season, and that's Michigan. These past couple of games, there's a lot of turmoil around them. Their head coach, he suspended the first 3 games. They don't play that well. They struggle against Bowling Green in like that third game where McCarthy throws 3 picks. They come on in the middle of the season, and then he gets suspended again with this whole cheating thing by the Big Ten. This is his 3rd game he's out, and now we've seen that offensive production come down a little bit. And then on the flip side, we have Ohio State, and it's a little bit unconventional. A lot of people, even Ohio State fans are complaining about Ohio State because they're not winning the way we've seen them win in the past decade. I've talked about this before. They are not throwing up 50, 60 points a game.
Right.
They are grinding it out. Their offense is making enough plays, doing what they have to do, taking care of it early, and then letting the defense ride it out. And we've seen that big games against Notre Dame. It was a tight game. Kyle McCord does just enough to come back. They did the same thing against Penn State. Those are two premier blue blood colleges. So then in the same aspect, you always talk about, Michigan, they ran over Ohio State the past 2 years. Ohio State's defense is ranked 2nd in the nation right now, scoring defense and total defense. A lot of people would say Audric Estime for Notre Dame is probably the top running back in college football right now. They locked him down. Then we talked about it before, Kayvon Allen and Nick Singleton, premier duo, 2nd best running back tandem in the nation. We covered it before, shut him down. And now you get the best running back combo in the nation. You get Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum. You shut them down, you're going to control that game, because lately we've seen McCarthy. He's having trouble throwing. Against Penn State, they ran the ball 24 straight times. All they had to do was make a stop, and James Franklin not making a dumb mistake. I think we're going to see a different Ryan Day, because these Ohio State players, they're ready for this game. Marvin Harrison, he wants to get a win. That Ibuka, he wants to get that win. All those guys, Jack Sawyer, he's coming back healthy. Eichenberg, he's back. The only one I think they're missing is going to be Hall on their defensive line. That's a big hit, but I think number 44. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce his name. It starts with a T. It's one of those Samoan names, but he's ready to play this game. And the big one is Travion Henderson is healthy. He's coming on strong. He's had a big game the past couple of weeks, and they seem to be getting that running game going at the right time. That's going to help out Kyle McCord, and then they can really hit Cade Stover, Marvin Harrison. And what they're going to want to do is they're going to want to make JJ McCarthy throw this ball because that front four, that front seven can actually get there. And if they can hold off Michigan's front seven, because those guys are very good in the trenches, there's a good chance Ohio State wins this game. I want to say that I talked to people at work today. I'm feeling confident. I said Ohio State's going to win 38-17, but that's just the way I feel about it. They've been playing well. I just think the way Michigan has kind of, you know,
they've tapered off a little bit. No, I mean you can call it.
But this is like one of those games where it doesn't matter how you played. It's like a division games in the NFL. Like the Commanders always play Dallas strong. You know, it's like one of those things. It doesn't matter. There's hatred on both sides. There's hatred in fans. There's hatred in coaches. There's hatred in players. And this is the game, and it's the last iteration of the game because when those 4 new teams come in next year, this isn't just a single game every single year now. They can play twice a year after this. So this is the last iteration of this game. So I think this means the most to both of those teams. But that's my Saturday spotlight and my upset pick.
So you cleared the entire bingo board with that one, man. I mean, every box is checked. Every number is covered with a marker on that one. And I would say, because the one thing I did notice that you brought up was Travion Henderson.
Yes.
He's come on very strong in the last couple of weeks, and he started to look like the guy we saw last year.
Yes.
So that kind of factors in. And again, the McCarthy aspect of it without Harbaugh, can you do it all by yourself the way you've been playing? I don't know, man. I don't know. But you mentioned one great point, and that's how we see our conferences going forward after the season, and kind of a swan song for things as they've been for so long in college football. And here's why I have my upset pick. And for me, the pick, I guess it's a Saturday spotlight, but you can call it the upset pick of the fallout that would be if the upset happened. So if that makes sense. And for me, I'm picking this week is going to be Oregon State going to Oregon. And here's why. You mentioned already a familiar foe that you know really, really well. You've seen it all the time. Playing an in-state rival can create so much trouble for you because they know you so well inside and out. And with that said, Oregon and Dan Lanning's team are on fire. Troy Franklin can do a lot of damage. You saw it last week with Odunze against Oregon State. It's possible that he can go off and roast the secondary. But speaking more so from a narrative sense, the reason why this game can be so bad for the parties involved, if Oregon State were to win, is what happens to the Pac-12 as it pertains to the CFP. Mm-hmm. So put it like this. If Oregon State were to win, then what that does is it then hurts UW if they were to lose the title game to Oregon.
Yep.
It then lessens them. So in a sense, if you're Washington, you really want to say, look, you can validate us as a conference, us as a team, if you don't lose to Oregon State. Same goes for Oregon as well. If Oregon were to win, then win again in the title game, you are now validated. You are stamped as a CFP candidate. Because really what's going to happen is, assuming things happen for, like, let's say Texas or Alabama get lucky beating Georgia twice, or even the game goes like really close this week, there's no path for either team, I think, in the Pac-12. I know this is going to sound hyperbolic, but there's no path for any team in the CFP to get in, or rather no team in the Pac-12 to get in the CFP if Oregon State wins. Mm. Like, them winning would it would burn down Rome. Like it would burn down Rome with Doomsday, but it would burn the city down. Like that's the biggest concern. If you're a Pac-12 fan or a Pac-12 fan that's a fan of Washington or Oregon, that is your biggest nightmare.
Yeah.
Is the Bees winning that game based on what you've seen so far. And you said it's funny, man. It's like when you watch a movie and they foreshadow an event and it just takes place at the worst possible time. You said it a long time ago. The Pac-12 is eating itself alive. They're going to be Oregon State could be the crabs in the bucket that hold back a Pac-12 team to make the CFP.
Yep.
In the last year of things as they stand. It's so crazy where we stand. Crazy, man, but that's where things are right now.
Yeah, so. And then say that does happen and Louisville beats Florida State. Man, I'm just saying that
it gets dicey.
That's the chaos, because then you have the winner. So I wouldn't throw Oklahoma in there. I think they got 2 losses now, but they're going to play against Texas again for the Big 12 championship. So then you're going to slide Texas in there. And then do you possibly, like we said before, you know, if this is a close game, the game is a close game, do you slide the loser of that game into the CFP? And it's not what anybody wants, but it could be an all SEC Big 10, you know, Final Four. And it's kind of what we've seen. It's kind of what it's been besides Clemson. But I mean, it's very possible if chaos does happen, there'll be a lot of upset people, but next year everyone's gonna have to take care of business because the super conferences are coming.
Yeah, and I guess it's the game that we play, really. So you look at everything that's happening right now within the SEC, because again, Alabama's not dead yet.
Right.
Alabama's
which is crazy
not
to say,
dead.
which is absolutely insane to say.
Yeah, after losing to Texas, so they're not dead yet. But Texas did themselves no favors by their loss to Oklahoma. So again, that's also a mix. And by the way, Texas would play, as it stands now, they would play against Oklahoma State.
Okay.
If things hold where they are, but still, being the team that's like 20th ranked isn't going to do much for you anyway. Like,
right.
These teams that are in the middle tier, that's Texas, again, Alabama needing a lot of luck. It's going to take a lot to happen. Even Louisville, it's going to take a lot to happen to even have that push or that conversation. And that's why it's so critical this weekend. And again, it's the worst possible outcome if the Beavers win. And all it does is it brightens up the entire case of teams that are there. Again, Alabama, Texas, they can all smile a little bit if the Beavers win that game. So it's big, man. Real big.
Yep. Most fun weekend in football right here.
I already know, man. I already know. Besides that, though, bro, is there anything else we want to cover before we wrap the show tonight?
No, man. Just say, OH, let's go.
All right, man. Have the fight song on repeat, as I know you're going to do from now till Saturday. But, guys, once again, if I hadn't tell you guys, hit that like, hit that sub button for more vids like this on the Freshman 15. Share it with your friends or your rivals, depending on how you want to do this thing. But, Tyler, man, thanks again for doing the show, guys. Have a great Thanksgiving. Relax and enjoy. And as always, peace.
Peace.